Okay guys, I'm gonna warn you, this is a long vlog and I didn't want to cut it down because then I'm omitting things that, you know, are really, I guess, at the heart of it. So just, if you feel like watching this one, just put it on. You can just listen to it while you're doing the dishes or something because it is what it is. So if you want to stick around and watch it, here it is. Hey guys, so I'm doing a weird vlog where I'm in the car and it's a night, and that's not super professional, but it's happening this way because sometimes with 3 little children who are, for the most part, home with me constantly, it is hard sometimes to sit down and do a properly set up vlog. So I want to talk about this. I'm just doing a casual mom vlog. So yeah, in the recent day in the life, I was registering Sophia for kindergarten. We have a set day that you do it on. So I'm going to show you guys first kind of like how my thoughts were going that day. Alright y'all, I'm going to register Sophia for kindergarten and I'm definitely a little apprehensive. I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about the kids going to school like this. I don't know. There's things that bother me. I don't know, y'all. I'm just apprehensive. So they make you bring everything. They want so much proof of like residency and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, how much stuff do I need to bring, y'all? And then all these registration forms and like, I mean, all kinds of stuff, y'all. It's crazy. Like, I have a whole little booklet of stuff I had to bring, and it's like this thick. Okay, so wish me luck. All right, y'all, so here is my paperwork, immunization records, like I said, everything you can possibly imagine. Okay, all done. They were so nice in there, just really kind, nice. You had to go through stations, like you had to go to like a nurse's station, like, well, first registration, and they were making copies of everything, and then a nurse's station, and then finally like the actual, where they're making their records to register them. And they're all super nice, and all the parents that I was sitting by were really nice while we were waiting. I just still like, I don't know. So this, let me be clear, this is not about like, oh, it's my first kid to go to school, so I'm feeling like nostalgic or sad. Like, I'm happy for her to go to school. I'm just weary of the system, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And we have one of the best ISDs in the whole state. We're very blessed where we live. Like, it's a great school system. And that's part of why we live where we live is because of the schools. Because this wasn't close to Kyle's job where we're located. We picked to live here because we knew the schools were so good and it's such a good community. So the schools are great. That's not the problem. It's just like the whole idea of the public school system, because you have to follow their rules, but it's your kid, you know, it's your kid, but you have to like do what they say. And I don't know, it just kind of like, I don't like it. But I like all the good stuff that they have to offer, you know, like they make it, they have so the neatest libraries, and they have fun experiences, and there's just, you know, there's this and that. So, all right, but it's done. She's registered. She's all registered for school, so she can start in the fall. Okay, so as you can see, I was just a little like, about the whole thing. And, you know, I mentioned this during that time about how, with me, it's not about being uncomfortable or being like sad that the baby, you know, she's leaving the nest and going to school. Like, I'm just not, at this point in my life, I'm so busy. It's almost like I don't have time to feel that sentimental. Yeah, she's growing up, and, you know, that can be bittersweet, but I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with her going somewhere to school, blah, blah, blah. That's not the problem. I'm just really wishy-washy about the whole school system. It's just hard for me because, you know, when you send your kid to public schools, and it's not just like this in the US. I've been talking to lots of people from all over the world, and it's just like this everywhere. It's just how it is. But you're kind of beholden to their rules and their policies. And I just feel like they are taking, yes, they're responsible for your children, and they're trying to, you know, they're supposed to help, you know, educate them and, you know, expose them to the arts and things like that. And yeah, they're sharing, like, that's some responsibility that they are taking on as a school system. But I feel like at some point, this is getting overstepped. I just turned on a light, so now anyone in the parking lot's gonna be like, what in the heck is that girl doing? I'm mom vlogging, everybody, just calm down. Okay, so I feel like though, that at some point, to me, I really feel like these schools are crossing a line with what, like they're taking liberties of raising my children that I'm not allowing, like I'm not okay about. And there's particular things that bother me. I mean, one is the whole attendance policies and how they're really, really firm about these policies. And, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, you know, if you have a real reason and you write to the school board and you can get permission and blah, blah, blah. But I can tell you guys that that's not always the case. I mean, I have an example of a friend of mine who, her mother, the children's grandmother, this really happened, y'all, and this doesn't just happen where I live. I mean, I've heard these similar stories from all over the world. Their mother was sick and they knew she didn't have a ton of time left where she was going to be healthy enough to recognize everyone and enjoy their visit. And so they decided, the family was like, you know, the parents both work, they're both professionals, and they were like, okay, let's go up for a week and visit grandma now before her health starts declining worse. And it was important to them. They had one child in school, he was in 2nd grade, and the other 2 were not in school yet. Or they were in preschool, daycare, so that kind of school. And the mother went up to the school and said, you know, hi, you know, she's like, hey, you know, unfortunately we've got a sick, you know, grandmother and we need to go and visit her. What do I need to do to get his schoolwork? And they were like, well, how long do you plan on taking him out? And she said a week, 5 days. Not like a full week, you know, school week, 5 days. And they were like, you can't do that. They were like, 3 days is the max. And she was like, well, we have a sick relative, we have a situation. What do I need to do to get this approved? And they were like, nothing. They were like, we're sorry, it's a hard rule. And if your child's out more than that, you do get a court summons. And yeah, I'm not kidding y'all, you get a court summons. And that's, different districts handle that differently. Our district's pretty strict about it. Some districts just give you a warning, some districts fine you. Our district sends you to court and then you have to pay a fine. No kidding. And she was just flabbergasted. And at that point, you know, she was just like, you know, I had this, you know, she's like, do I keep going up to the school, higher up and higher up? She's like, how much do I have to do? And, you know, she said it was just really hard for her because she was saying that she felt like, because she did the right thing and came up to the school to responsibly get the child's work, to let them know what was going on, she felt like it almost like she was being punished, because at that point, even if she said she had told a fib and said, fine, it was a relative died, so I have to pull them out for 5 days, they would know, you know, it wasn't true. Like, basically, because she was honest, she was being punished. That's how it felt. And they literally were just basically holding her. It was like, yeah, you can't take your kid out to do that. And if you do, you will be punished. That's what happened. And so she ended up staying at home with the son, and they didn't get to go up there. And I think she did go up and see her mother later, but that's horrible. And that's just one of many stories that I've heard that aren't exaggerations, that is true. And so that is my example of how that's overstepping. Now, let's play devil's advocate. I completely understand. The school systems, they don't get paid if the child's not there. So it's important for them to make sure they have good attendance. They also, you know, want to make sure that you're not taking advantage of the kid always being out of school. And I really get that, and I support it. And they're also looking out for the children whose parents, unfortunately, maybe don't care enough to make sure the kid's going to school. And so it's kind of like a way to make the parents have to care enough to send them to school. I completely understand that there's things like that happen. But when I feel like, y'all, when you're dealing with someone's child that's not your child, you can't just have these black and white strict rules. You just can't do that. That's not your kid. So I get that it makes it easier to just have this firm, no exception policy in place, because it makes it easier for the system for the good reasons that they're trying to enforce. But you can't do that. That's not your child. And if that parent wants to pull their kid out, I don't care if that parent wants to pull their kid out for a week to go to Washington and go visit the museums. They should be allowed to do that. That's their child. And I think that, you know, the parent, that should be their responsibility to make sure the child is keeping up with the schoolwork. And guess what? If the parent, when they pull that kid out to do whatever they're doing, whether it's something trivial or something really important, like visiting someone who's not going to be on the earth much longer, if the parent doesn't make sure the kid keeps up the schoolwork and the kid goes back to school and they're a little behind and so they fail a quiz or they fail a test or they get a C on a project, that's the parent's fault, and that's not the school's fault. I get that, and that's how it should be. Like, that's on you. And so again, I totally understand why they have the rules, and I agree with them in theory, but I think that there should be ways that don't involve, you know, basically finding the person in charge of the entire school district and begging them, and even then getting turned down, to do what you want to do with your kid. And I would even be happy to jump through a bunch of hoops, just so that the system is working and is protecting those other children. And that way, like, it's like we could both get our ways. Like, I get to do what I want to do with my kid, but I'm also helping, you know, you guys kind of enforce the rules, because I think the parents that they're worried about, if you had a bunch of like hoops you had to jump through to do this, but there was a way to do it, I think the parents that they're worried about, the parents that they're worried won't enforce the children going to school and things like that, those parents would probably, you know, if you're talking about a parenting, you know, that where they don't care, they're being lazy about their child, they're not going to jump through those loopholes. They're not going to jump through those hoops either. They're not going to bother. So you're still going to have, you know, you're still going to be able to, I don't want to say catch those parents, but I guess protect those kids, because the kids, you know, those parents aren't going to do those extra steps. But then you have parents who, so you're, you know, and that's good. So you're still protecting those kids, but then at the same time, it would allow the parents who, you know, want to do what they want to do with their child within reason. I get it. Like, you know, I would understand if you had, you know, you're in school for, let's just roughly 9 months, and if the parent's trying to take their kid out for a month, every other month, I get that that would be a problem. But I think within reason, you have to have flexibility. I don't believe in these hard, fast rules when they're not your children to the school. Do you know what I mean? They're just not. They're not your kids, and it rubs me the wrong way. And then there's also stuff with dress code. I think there's a lot of like shaming, because I think that they cross lines. Like, you know, y'all see how we dress, how my kids dress. My kids dress fine. You know, they're not dressing in some crazy way. And I can tell you too, you know, I mean, I have one of my best friends who's, you know, she's so, you know, modest, and her children are always well put together, and she would never let her daughter, who's a preteen, out of the house in something questionable ever. And, you know, she was in, you know, their school district actually basically shamed the parents about leggings, saying that some kids didn't have the right kind of body for leggings, so they were gonna ban them. Yeah, that actually happened. And I mean, they're in a different district, but how horrible is that? Like, that's like body shaming right there, is what that is. That's crossing a line from dress code, and you're basically saying to that little girl, like, no, you're not allowed to wear that. And that bothers me too, because I think that there's a difference between something that really is inappropriate, and I understand that there's going to be some, you know, different opinions about where that kind of point is, but again, parents have to have some control over this. They're our kids. So I get that. There's going to be some gray area where one parent might think something's a little questionable, where another parent's like, no, that's okay, you know. I get that. But you can't make the children, especially little girls, you cannot shame them for wearing something that really is not that, you know, you are not allowed to shame my girls or anyone else's girls specifically, but same for boys, you know, because you're worried about someone else that's creepy. That's the creepy person's fault, not my child's fault. And I don't even want that in their head, that if they're wearing leggings, that's somehow dirty. And that kind of, you know, and in my district, that's actually not a rule. So again, that just depends on the district, but it's still the same concept. It's still the same theory. And I can't stand that. I can't stand it, y'all. It really bothers me. And this is something that's just been weighing so heavy on me for a long time. You know, a lot of people homeschool for religious reasons. You know, sometimes people homeschool because, you know, they don't agree with the curriculum, or there's a ton of reasons. And with me, it really comes down to, for us, it's not about really religion. It's not about, you know, particularly about the curriculum, although again, I know that there's, you know, we've got some issues with where they're teaching with the Common Core. They have this new way of teaching, and the children, if they do it in a way that's not that way, they actually get points off, which is ridiculous to me. It's another thing where I'm like, but with me, it's about them taking more control and more say over what my kids are allowed to do, say how they're allowed to even learn, how they're allowed to work a problem out. I mean, they're dictating that, you know, shaming them about certain things, telling me as a parent that I'm not allowed to do this or this or this or this or this, and that if I do, I have to go to court. I mean, all that stuff just, oh my gosh, you guys, like, it really bothers me a lot, so much. And there's so much good at the schools where we are, and that is the only reason I'm still sending them to school, because it's like I want it to work, because they have so much good stuff to offer. So there's good too, and it's just, I just don't like the control that they think that they should have. You don't have that kind of control over people. And again, to play devil's advocate, you know, to try to understand, and I just want to be clear that, like, you know, some people just adamantly are against certain schools or things like that, and I'm not. That's part of the problem, is that I really do like so much that they do, and so that's what makes it hard for me, is it's because I really like this, but I just don't like this other aspect. It almost makes me want to cry. I'm so passionate about it. Like, it's something I feel with such an intensity that it's kind of crazy. And I really think that I'm gonna start the kids in school, and I'm gonna end up pulling them at some point. And it may be for a reason that some people think is stupid. It may be because I'm gonna be like, I'm allowed to take my kid out to go on vacation. And then I'm responsible for their work. I get that. And if you tell me no, you don't tell me no. Like, you are not allowed to tell me no about my children. You're just not. Ugh, I'm really worked up about this, guys. It's been really hard. And like, I just want to make it so clear too that, you know, I'm not one of those people that's just straight up against the school systems. I think it would be easier if I was. You know, that's what makes it so hard, is and I really do understand why they have a lot of these rules. I really do. That's the other thing. It's like, I get it. I get it. I want them to have rules to protect the kids whose parents aren't paying attention, and I want them to have rules, you know, to try to keep things going smoothly. I want that. I really do. But I think that when you're dealing with people's children and you are not their parent, your rules can't be black and white. They can't be ultimatums. They can't be set in stone. And I know that makes things a little bit more difficult, but that's how it's got to be when you're dealing with someone else's children. It's a tricky situation. And you setting these hardcore rules doesn't make the situation easier. It just makes people like me really mad. So that is my school dilemma. That's my ranty. I'm just trying to put it out there. I've just been really weary about all of this, and like I said, we're just gonna move forward. The kids are gonna be in the school, but I just think at some point I'm going to say no, and I'm just gonna pull them out, you know? Even with all the good, like, oh, you know, I really had a good time in school when I was growing up. I was involved in everything you could possibly imagine. It was such a good thing for me, and so I hate that I even have, like, having these thoughts. Like, I never would have thought I would be that kind of person that would feel so strongly about something, but it just really bothers me, y'all. It brings out this almost defiant anger in me, where I just want to be like, don't, you know what I mean? Like, no, you are not allowed to dictate how I raise my children in any way. All right, you guys, that's my ranty mom vlog, and I managed to get through the whole vlog without anyone noticing me until now. Oh, someone just found us out. Wait, they found us out, y'all. Ah! Okay, so that's my schooling uncomfortable dilemma. Let me know how you all are dealing with all that. Is this something that other people have thought about before? I just don't hear people talk about this angle a lot. Thank you guys for sitting through that with me. This is a long vlog, and I'm probably not gonna wanna cut out a bunch of it because it'll kind of just ruin the mood. So, yeah. All right. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. I will talk to everyone later.